The arena erupted in a deafening roar. 20,000 alien voices screamed as one, their alien throats producing sounds that would have shattered human eardrums. But Maya Chen wasn't listening to the crowd. She was focused on the 10-foot-tall creature charging toward her, its forearms ending in razor-sharp claws that could slice through steel. Maya rolled to the side just as the beast's claws scraped deep grooves in the arena floor where she'd been standing. The crowd's roar intensified. They loved it when the humans nearly died. It happened so often. "Come on, you overgrown lizard," Maya muttered, wiping blood from a cut on her cheek. Her voice was barely audible over the chaos, but her lips moved, with practiced defiance. She'd been fighting in these death matches for 3 months now. 3 months since the Zephyrians had invaded Earth and enslaved her people. The creature, a Catherian war beast, turned with surprising speed for something so massive. Its 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows across its skull, fixed on Maya with predatory hunger. This was supposed to be her execution. Humans weren't meant to survive the arena. They were entertainment. Disposable entertainment. But Maya had other plans. She sprinted toward the arena wall, her feet pounding against the sand that had absorbed the blood of countless fighters before her. The wall was 30 feet high and smooth as glass. Impossible to climb, but Maya had been studying this place for weeks, memorizing every crack, every imperfection. The Catherian roared behind her, its footsteps shaking the ground. Maya could feel its hot breath on her neck as she leaped, her fingers finding the tiny groove she'd spotted during her first week here. She pulled herself up just as the beast's claws scraped the wall below her. From her perch, 10 feet above the arena floor, Maya looked out at the crowd. The Zephyrians were humanoid but taller, their skin a pale blue that shimmered in the artificial light. They wore elaborate clothing that marked their status. The richer they were, the more ornate their garments. And in the highest box, separated from the rest by shimmering force fields, sat the one being she'd been watching for weeks. King Zarth of the Zephyrian Empire. He was massive even by Zephyrian standards, nearly 8 feet tall with shoulders that could have supported a small building. His skin was darker than the others, a deep indigo that spoke of royal bloodlines. But it was his eyes that made Maya's breath catch. They were silver, like molten metal, and they were fixed directly on her, not on the arena, not on the beast, below. On her. The Catherian slammed into the wall, and Maya felt the impact through her entire body. She couldn't stay here long. The creature was already trying to climb, its claws finding purchase in the stone. But Maya had bought herself precious seconds. She looked around the arena, searching for anything she could use as a weapon. The fight was supposed to be unfair. Humans were given nothing but their bare hands against creatures designed for killing. But Maya had learned to see opportunities where others saw only death. The arena's lighting system hung from the ceiling, suspended by thick cables. If she could somehow, the Catherian's roar brought her back to the present. It had climbed halfway, up the wall, its massive body moving with terrifying grace. Maya could see the hunger in its 6 eyes. She had maybe 10 seconds before it reached her. That's when she saw it. A maintenance panel in the wall, just within reach. The Zephyrians were advanced, but they still needed to maintain their technology. And maintenance panels meant Maya punched the panel with all her strength. Her knuckles split open, but the panel cracked. Inside, she could see the circuit boards that controlled the arena's various systems. She'd studied electronics before. The invasion. Before her world had ended, the Catherian's claws scraped stone inches from her feet. Maya ripped out a handful of circuits and wires, ignoring the electrical shock that ran up her arm. The arena's lighting flickered. The crowd's roar changed pitch, confusion mixing with excitement. But Maya wasn't trying to turn off the lights. She was trying to overload the system that controlled the arena's gravity field. Every Zephyrian arena had one. It allowed them to create spectacular effects for the crowd's entertainment. The Catherian reached her level just as Maya finished her work. She threw herself backward, letting gravity take her as she fell toward the arena floor. The creature lunged after her, its forearms spread wide to catch her. That's when the gravity field activated. The sudden shift in gravitational force sent the Catherian flying upward, its massive body slamming into the arena's ceiling with a sickening crunch. Maya hit the sand hard, rolling to absorb the impact. Her ribs screamed in protest, but she was alive. The Catherian wasn't so lucky. It fell from the ceiling like a meteor, its body twisted at impossible angles. It hit the arena floor with a sound like thunder, and didn't move again. The arena fell, silent. Maya pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly from the impact. Blood ran down her arms and face, but she was standing. The crowd stared at her in disbelief. In 300 years of arena combat, no human had ever killed a Catherian, war beast. But Maya wasn't looking at the crowd. She was looking up at the royal box where King Zarth had risen from his throne. His silver eyes were fixed on her with an expression she couldn't read. Surprise? Anger? Or something else entirely? The king raised his hand, and the entire arena held its breath. This was the moment when he would decide her fate. Thumbs up meant she lived to fight another day. Thumbs down meant immediate execution. But King Zarth didn't give either signal. Instead, he did something that made the crowd gasp in unison. He began to clap. Slow, measured applause that echoed through the suddenly quiet arena. And as he clapped, his silver eyes never left Maya's face. "Fascinating," he said, his voice carrying across the arena through hidden speakers. Absolutely fascinating. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She'd survived the fight, but something told her the real danger was just beginning. Chapter 2. The offer 2 hours later, Maya sat in a cell that was unlike any prison she'd seen in the 3 months since her capture. The walls weren't made of rusted metal or crumbling stone. They were polished crystal that seemed to glow with its own inner light. The bed was actually comfortable, and there was a small table with food that looked and smelled better than anything she'd eaten since the invasion. Maya didn't touch it. In her experience, when your captors suddenly started treating you well, it meant they wanted something from you. The door dissolved without warning, melting away like mist. Maya tensed, ready to fight, but the figure who entered made her freeze. King Zarth had to duck to fit through the doorway, his massive frame filling the small cell. Up close, he was even more intimidating than he'd appeared in the arena. His skin wasn't just indigo. It had a subtle pattern of darker lines that reminded Maya of circuitry. His silver eyes held intelligence that made her feel like a bug under a microscope. "Impressive," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "You're not cowering." Maya forced herself to remain still, though every instinct screamed at her to run. "Should I be?" The king's lips curved in what might have been a smile. "Most humans would be. Do you know who I am? You're the one who destroyed my world." Maya said flatly. "You're the one who enslaved my people. You're the one who throws us into arenas to die for your entertainment." "All true," Zarth said, seeming unperturbed by her accusations. "But incomplete. I am also the one who has spent the last 300 years watching species after species fall before Zephyrian might. And in all that time, I have never seen anything quite like what you did today." He moved closer, and Maya caught his scent. Something like ozone and starlight. It should have been pleasant, but it made her skin crawl. This was the being responsible for billions of human deaths. "You didn't just survive," Zarth continued. "You adapted. You observed. You found a weakness in a system designed to be flawless and exploited it with nothing but your bare hands and primitive knowledge of electronics." "Primitive?" Maya couldn't help but bristle. "Compared to Zephyrian technology, yes, but that makes what you accomplished even more remarkable." Zarth stopped just out of reach, his silver eyes studying her face. "Tell me, Maya Chen, what did you do before the invasion?" Maya's blood ran cold. She hadn't told anyone her name, and she certainly hadn't shared her background. "How do you—" "I make it my business to know about interesting specimens," Zarth said. "Electrical engineer, graduated top of your class from MIT. Working on advanced power grid systems before the war. Orphaned at age 12, raised by your grandmother. No siblings, no spouse, no children, a brilliant mind with nothing left to lose." Maya's hands clenched into fists. The way he talked about her, like she was some kind of experiment, made her want to hit him. But she wasn't stupid. The king could probably snap her neck with one hand. "Why are you here?" she asked instead. "Because I have a proposition for you," Zarth said. "One that could change the fate of both our species." Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Let me guess. You want me to work for you? Help you build better weapons to kill more humans?" "Actually," Zarth said, "I want you to help me save them." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She stared at the king, searching his face for any sign of deception, but his silver eyes were completely serious. "That's impossible," Maya said finally. "You're the one who invaded us. You're the one who— I am the one who has been trying to prevent my people from completely exterminating yours," Zarth interrupted. "Do you think the arena is cruelty for its own sake? It's mercy. A way to channel Zephyrian bloodlust without wiping out entire planets." Maya shook her head. "You expect me to believe you're some kind of savior?" "I expect you to listen," Zarth said, his voice hardening. "Because whether you believe me or not, the truth remains. There are factions within the Zephyrian Empire that want to see humanity extinct. They view your species as a virus that must be cleansed from the galaxy. The only thing standing between them and that goal is me. And what does that have to do with me?" Zarth was quiet for a long moment, his silver eyes studying her face. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, almost thoughtful. "In 300 years of conquest, I have never seen a species adapt as quickly as humanity has. Your people learn, you evolve. You find solutions where others see only problems. Today you proved that even the most disadvantaged human can overcome seemingly impossible odds." He paused, then said something that made Maya's blood freeze. "I believe humanity may be the key to saving not just your own species, but mine as well." Maya stared at him. "What are you talking about?" "The Zephyrian Empire is dying," Zarth said simply. "We have conquered everything we can find, but conquest is not sustainable. We are a warrior race with no more wars to fight. Our birth rates are declining. Our people grow restless and violent without enemies to battle. Within 2 centuries, we will either destroy ourselves or find a new purpose. And you think humans can provide that purpose?" "I think humans can provide something more valuable than purpose," Zarth said. "I think you can provide evolution." Maya felt like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. "I don't understand." "Your species has something mine has lost," Zarth said. "Adaptability. Creativity. The ability to find solutions that our rigid thinking cannot conceive. Today, you proved that a single human with primitive technology can defeat creatures designed to be unbeatable. Imagine what humanity could accomplish with access to Zephyrian resources." "You want us to be your weapons," Maya said. "I want you to be our partners," Zarth corrected. "But that will require trust, and trust requires proof." The king reached into his robes and pulled out something that made Maya's breath catch. It was a circlet of silver metal, set with crystals that pulsed with inner light. She recognized it from the arena. It was the crown that marked Zarth as absolute ruler of the Zephyrian Empire. "This is the crown of dominion," Zarth said, holding it out to her. "Whoever wears it commands the loyalty of every Zephyrian warrior. It has been worn by only 7 beings in our history, all of them Zephyrian nobles born to rule." Maya stared at the crown, then at the king. "You're insane." "Perhaps," Zarth said, "but I am also desperate. My people are dying, Maya Chen. Not from war or disease, but from stagnation. We need something to force us to evolve, to grow, to become more than we are. And I believe that something is humanity." He held the crown closer to her. "Wear this, and you will have the power to free your people. All of them. No more arenas, no more slavery, no more death." Maya's hands shook as she looked at the crown. It was everything she dreamed of, the power to save her species, to end the nightmare that had consumed her world. But it was also a trap. It had to be. "What's the catch?" she asked. "The catch," Zarth said, is that you will also inherit the responsibility for mine. The Zephyrian Empire spans 1,000 worlds. Billions of lives depend on the decisions made by whoever wears this crown. Are you prepared for that burden? Maya looked from the crown to the king's silver eyes. There was something there. Desperation, yes, but also hope. He genuinely believed what he was saying, but that didn't make it true. Why me? She asked. Why not someone with more experience, more knowledge? Because, Zarth said, you're the only human who has ever made me question whether my people are truly superior. You're the only one who has shown me that perhaps we have something to learn. He extended the crown toward her one more time. The choice is yours, Maya Chen. Take the crown and save both our species, or refuse it and watch them both die. Maya stared at the crown, her mind racing. Everything about this was wrong. Alien kings didn't just give away their power. There had to be a trick, a hidden agenda, something she wasn't seeing. But as she looked at Zarth's face, she saw something that gave her pause. He wasn't looking at her like she was a tool to be used. He was looking at her like she was a successor. I need time to think, Maya said finally. Time is something we don't have, Zarth replied. The faction that wants humanity extinct is moving tonight. They plan to sterilize your homeworld and 12 other human colonies. If you don't take the crown now, 7 billion people will be dead by morning. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. You're lying. I wish I were, Zarth said sadly. But you can verify it yourself. The crown doesn't just grant authority, it grants knowledge. Wear it, and you'll know everything feel everything I feel. You'll understand the truth of what I've told you. Maya looked at the crown one more time. It was beautiful and terrible, promising power beyond imagination and responsibility beyond comprehension. If she took it, she would become something unprecedented, a human ruler of an alien empire. But if she didn't, 7 billion people would die. If I take this, Maya said slowly, and if you're telling the truth about the attack, how do I stop it? The same way you stopped the Catherian, Zarth said. You find the weakness in a system designed to be flawless and you exploit it. Maya closed her eyes thinking of her grandmother, who had raised her after her parents died, of her friends at MIT who had probably died in the invasion, of the billions of humans who were counting on someone, anyone, to save them. When she opened her eyes, her decision was made. If this is a trick, she said, reaching for the crown, I'll find a way to kill you. Zarth smiled, and for the first time it looked genuine. I would expect nothing less. Maya's fingers closed around the crown, and the world exploded into light. Chapter 3. The weight of worlds. Maya screamed. The crown's touch was like being struck by lightning and embraced by fire at the same time. Knowledge flooded her mind, not just information but experience. Memories that weren't hers, emotions that belonged to someone else, the weight of decisions that had shaped the fate of entire civilizations. She saw through Zarth's eyes as he watched his homeworld burn during the Great Purge, when the Zephyrian Empire had turned on itself in a civil war that lasted 30 years. She felt his pain as he held his dying son, killed by rebels who wanted to end the imperial system. She experienced his desperation as he realized that his people were slowly destroying themselves through endless conquest and violence, and she saw the truth of what he'd told her. The faction that wanted humanity extinct wasn't just moving tonight, they were already in position. Admiral Kresh, Zarth's own brother, had assembled a fleet of 12 dreadnoughts around Earth. The sterilization would begin in 6 hours. When Saudin divisions ended, Maya found herself on her knees, the crown heavy on her head. Zarth knelt beside her, his silver eyes filled with something that might have been compassion. The first time is always difficult, he said softly. You're feeling the weight of every decision I've made, every life I've taken, every world I've conquered. It's the price of power, Maya Chen. Are you prepared to pay it? Maya looked up at him, and for the first time she truly understood what he was. Not a monster, though he'd done monstrous things, but a being crushed under the weight of impossible choices. Every decision he'd made had saved some lives and condemned others. Every mercy had enabled cruelty. Every act of strength had required sacrifice. "How do you live with it?" she whispered. "By remembering why I must," Zarth replied. "By focusing on the lives I can save rather than the ones I cannot." Maya pushed herself to her feet, the crown's weight already becoming familiar. She could feel it now. The connection to every Zephyrian warrior in the Empire. Millions of minds, all bound to obey whoever wore the crown. The power was intoxicating and terrifying. "The fleet around Earth," she said. "If I order them to stand down, will they obey?" "They will," Zarth said. "But Admiral Kresh will not. He has been planning this for years. He has contingencies for everything, including the possibility that someone might try to stop him." "Then how do I save my people?" Zarth stood, his massive frame towering over her. "The same way you've survived everything else. You adapt. You find the weakness in the system." Maya closed her eyes, letting the crown's knowledge flow through her. She could see the fleet's positions, understand their capabilities, feel the thoughts of their commanders. Admiral Kresh had positioned his ships to cover every possible escape route from Earth. Even if she ordered the fleet to stand down, he had enough firepower to complete the sterilization before help could arrive. But there was something else, a piece of information buried deep in Zarth's memories. The Zephyrian Empire had rules, ancient laws that governed how power could be transferred. The crown was more than just a symbol. It was a sacred artifact that bound the Empire together. And according to those laws, Maya's eyes snapped open. "The trial of succession," Zarth nodded slowly. "You found it. The one law that even Admiral Kresh cannot break. If I challenge him to single combat for the right to rule, he has to." "Except," Maya said, the knowledge flowing through her like water, "and during the trial, all military operations must cease." "Yes," Zarth said. "But Maya, you must understand what you're proposing. Admiral Kresh is not some arena beast. He is a Zephyrian warrior with 300 years of combat experience. He has never lost a battle, never shown mercy to an enemy. He will not hesitate to kill you." Maya felt a cold smile spread across her face. "Then I'll have to make sure I don't give him the chance." "How?" "The same way I beat the Catherian," Maya said. "By cheating." Zarth's silver eyes widened. "The trial of succession is sacred. It can't be cheated using Zephyrian methods," Maya interrupted. "But I'm not Zephyrian. I'm human. And humans have been finding ways to win unfair fights since we were throwing rocks at saber-toothed tigers." She turned to face him, the crown's weight no longer feeling like a burden but like armor. "Tell me about the trial. What are the rules? What weapons are allowed? Where does it take place?" Zarth studied her face, and Maya could see him weighing her chances. Finally, he nodded. "The trial takes place on Zephyrian Prime, in the Colosseum of Truth. No weapons are allowed except what the combatants can create with their own hands. The fight continues until one combatant yields or dies. And if I win, then you become undisputed ruler of the Zephyrian Empire," Zarth said. "Every warrior, every ship, every world will be yours to command. And if I lose? Then humanity dies," Zarth said simply, "and my people continue their slow march toward extinction." Maya nodded. She'd known the stakes from the moment she'd put on the crown. But knowing and accepting were different things. "How long until the trial can be arranged?" she asked. "Admiral Kresh will want to begin the sterilization as soon as possible," Zarth said. "But he cannot refuse a formal challenge. The trial must take place within 24 hours of the challenge being issued." "Then we need to move fast," Maya said. She started toward the door, then paused. "Zarth, why are you helping me? This trial. If I win, you lose everything. Your crown, your power, your empire. Why are you willing to give that up?" The king was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. "Because," he said, I have watched my people destroy themselves for 300 years. I have made decisions that haunt me, taken actions that I cannot undo. But if there is a chance, even a small one, that humanity can show us a better way, then I am willing to sacrifice everything for it. He looked at her, his silver eyes reflecting the crown's light. Besides, I don't think I'm giving up my power. I think I'm finally putting it in the right hands. Maya felt something twist in her chest. This alien king, this conqueror who had destroyed her world, was willing to risk everything on the hope that she could save both their species. It was insane. It was impossible. It was exactly the kind of desperate plan that might actually work. "All right," she said. "Let's go save the galaxy." But as they left the crystal cell, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something. The crown's knowledge was vast, but it wasn't complete. There were gaps in Zarth's memories, shadows in his past that the crown couldn't illuminate. And in those shadows, she sensed something waiting. Something that would change everything she thought she knew about the Zephyrian Empire, about Zarth, and about her own destiny. The trial was just the beginning. Chapter 4. The Colosseum of Truth. Colosseum of Truth was nothing like the arena where Maya had fought the Catherian. This was a cathedral of war, built from crystalline walls that soared toward a star-filled sky. The seats rose in perfect circles around a central fighting space, each one carved from a single piece of black stone. It could hold 1,000,000 spectators, and tonight every seat was filled. Maya stood at the entrance to the Colosseum, the crown heavy on her head. Through the crystal walls she could see the crowds, not just Zephyrians, but representatives from every species in the Empire. Word of the trial had spread across the galaxy in hours. A human challenging a Zephyrian admiral for the right to rule. It was unprecedented. "Remember," Zarth said quietly, "Admiral Kresh has every advantage except one. He underestimates you because you're human. Use that." Maya nodded, but her attention was focused on the figure standing at the opposite entrance. Admiral Kresh was even larger than Zarth, his indigo skin marked with the scars of countless battles. His eyes were not silver but gold, and they burned with fanatical hatred. This was the being who wanted to see humanity extinct. "Citizens of the Empire," a voice boomed across the Colosseum. Maya recognized the speaker, High Arbiter Vex, the being responsible for ensuring the trial followed ancient law. "We gather tonight to witness the trial of succession. The human Maya Chen, bearing the crown of dominion, challenges Admiral Kresh for the right to rule." The crowd erupted in a cacophony of voices. Maya could hear dozens of different languages, but the emotion was universal: excitement, disbelief, anticipation. "The rules are as they have always been," Vex continued. "No weapon save what the combatants can create. No mercy save what they choose to show. The trial ends when one combatant yields or dies." Maya stepped into the arena, her bare feet silent on the crystalline floor. The crown's knowledge flowed through her, showing her every detail of the space. The arena was a perfect circle, 200 feet across. The walls were smooth and unclimbable. There were no hiding places, no environmental advantages to exploit. Except for one thing. The floor wasn't solid crystal. It was layered, with support structures underneath. And those support structures were connected to the Colosseum's power grid, the same grid that powered the lights, the amplification systems, and most importantly, the gravity field that kept the 1,000,000 spectators in their seats. Maya had learned something during her time as an electrical engineer. Every system had a weakness. Even the most advanced technology had flaws that could be exploited by someone who understood the principles behind it. Admiral Kresh entered the arena from the opposite side, his golden eyes fixed on Maya with murderous intent. Up close, he was even more intimidating. His hands ended in natural claws that could tear through steel, and his skin had the texture of armor plating. "A human," he said, his voice carrying across the arena without amplification. "This is what the Empire has come to. A primitive ape, wearing the crown of our ancestors." Maya didn't respond. She was too busy studying the floor beneath her feet, tracing the power conduits with her eyes. The Crown's knowledge helped, showing her the Colosseum's schematics, but she needed to see it for herself. "When I kill you," Kresh continued, "I will make sure your death is broadcast to every human world. They will watch their supposed savior die screaming, and they will know that their extinction is inevitable." Maya looked up at him then and smiled. "You talk too much." The words were simple, but they had the desired effect. Kresh's golden eyes flared with rage, and he charged across the arena like a living missile. Maya was ready for him. She'd spent hours studying Zephyrian combat techniques through the Crown's memories. She knew how they moved, how they attacked, how they thought. Kresh was fast, but he was also predictable. She rolled to the side as his claws whistled through the air where her head had been. The Admiral's momentum carried him forward, and Maya used his own speed against him, grabbing his arm and using his weight to throw him across the arena. Kresh hit the crystal wall hard enough to crack it, but he was back on his feet in seconds. His golden eyes burned with something beyond rage now. "Respect. Clever," he admitted, "but cleverness will not save you." This time his attack was more measured. He feinted left, then struck right, his claws aimed at Maya's throat. She ducked backward, feeling the wind from his strike ruffle her hair. Too close, but close enough. Maya's hand shot out, not to attack Kresh, but to strike the crystal floor beneath him. Her knuckles split open as they hit the hard surface, but the impact was enough to crack the crystal and expose the power conduit underneath. Kresh saw what she was doing and tried to stop her, but it was too late. Maya's bleeding hand closed around the exposed conduit and electricity coursed through her body. The pain was incredible. Every nerve felt like it was on fire, and she could smell her own flesh burning. But she held on, using her knowledge of electrical systems to channel the power where she needed it to go. The Colosseum's gravity field fluctuated wildly. In the stands, spectators screamed as they were pressed into their seats with crushing force, then suddenly lifted into the air. But Maya wasn't trying to hurt the crowd. She was trying to overload a specific section of the power grid, the section that controlled the arena's structural integrity. Kresh realized what she was doing and lunged forward, his claws aimed at her heart. But the Admiral had made the same mistake as the Catherian. He'd underestimated what a human could accomplish with primitive knowledge and desperate determination. The crystal floor exploded upward in a shower of razor-sharp fragments. Kresh was caught in the explosion. His body, torn by crystalline shrapnel, he fell to his knees, golden blood streaming from dozens of wounds. Maya released the power conduit and fell backward, her hand a ruin of burned flesh. But she was alive, and Kresh was dying. "Yield," she gasped, struggling to her feet. "The trial is over." Kresh looked up at her, his golden eyes filled with hatred and something else, disbelief. You destroyed the arena. The Colosseum of Truth has stood for 10,000 years. And now it's broken," Maya said, approaching the wounded Admiral. "Just like your empire. Just like your way of thinking. The old ways are ending, Kresh. The question is whether you're going to help build something new or die clinging to the past." For a moment she thought he might yield. Kresh's strength was fading, his golden blood pooling on the shattered crystal. But then his eyes hardened with final resolve. "I will not serve a human," he snarled, and lunged at her one last time. Maya didn't move. She couldn't. Her body was too damaged from the electrical shock, but she didn't need to move. Kresh's final attack carried him forward into the exposed power conduit she'd been holding. The Admiral's body convulsed as electricity coursed through him. His golden eyes went wide with shock, then gradually dimmed. He fell to the crystal floor and didn't move again. Maya stood over his body, swaying on her feet. The crown felt impossibly heavy on her head, but she could feel its power coursing through her. Every Zephyrian warrior in the Empire now owed her their loyalty. Every ship, every world, every life was hers to command. "The trial is concluded," High Arbiter Vex announced, his voice echoing across the damaged Colosseum. "Maya Chen is victorious. Long live the Empress." The crowd's response was deafening. 1,000,000 voices from 100 different species, all acknowledging her as their ruler. but Maya barely heard them. She was thinking about the weight of responsibility that now rested on her shoulders and the impossible task ahead of her. She had to save humanity. She had to reform the Zephyrian Empire. She had to somehow find a way to make two species that had been at war into partners. And she had to do it all while being careful not to make the same mistakes that had destroyed previous rulers. As the crowd continued to cheer, Maya felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Zarth, his silver eyes filled with something that might have been pride. "Well done," he said quietly. "But you know this is only the beginning." Maya nodded, looking out at the crowd that was now her responsibility. "I know, the real work starts now." But as she stood there, battered and bloodied but victorious, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she was still missing something. The crown's knowledge was vast, but there were still shadows in it, gaps that suggested secrets yet to be revealed, secrets that might change everything she thought she knew about the empire she now ruled. Epilogue: The New Empire. 6 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Imperial flagship Harmony, watching as the last of the human evacuation ships departed Earth. The planet below was scarred but healing, its atmosphere slowly clearing after decades of industrial pollution had been reversed by Zephyrian technology. "The terraforming is proceeding ahead of schedule," reported Commander Vex, the former arbiter who had become Maya's chief advisor. "The oceans should be fully restored within 2 years." Maya nodded, but her attention was focused on the stars beyond Earth. In the 6 months since the trial, she had learned things about the Zephyrian Empire that even the Crown's memories hadn't revealed. The Empire wasn't just dying, it was being consumed from within by something far more dangerous than stagnation. "Any word from the outer colonies?" she asked. "The situation remains stable," Vex replied. "The integration protocols are working. Humans and Zephyrians are learning to work together, though there is still resistance on both sides." Maya wasn't surprised. Changing the mindset of an entire empire was never going to be easy. But the early results were promising. Human creativity, combined with Zephyrian technology, had already produced innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. New medical treatments that worked on both human and alien physiology. Faster-than-light communication systems that used principles of quantum entanglement that human physicists had only theorized about. Agricultural techniques that could feed billions while actually improving planetary ecosystems. "And the other, matter?" Maya asked quietly. Vex's expression grew troubled. "The deep space sensors have detected 17 more ships, same configuration as the others. They're heading toward the Andromeda system." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. This was the secret the Crown's memories had hidden. The real reason the Zephyrian Empire had been so desperate to conquer other species. They weren't just expanding for resources or territory. They were running from something. "How long until they arrive?" Maya asked. 3 months at current speed," Vex replied. "Empress, perhaps it's time to tell the people the truth." Maya was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars. In those distant points of light lay the future of 2 species. Maybe more. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds, enslaved countless species, and committed atrocities that would take generations to heal from. But they had also preserved those species from something worse. The Devourers. That's what Zarth had called them in the hidden memories Maya had finally unlocked. An ancient enemy that consumed entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty worlds in their wake. The Zephyrian Empire's aggressive expansion hadn't been about conquest. It had been about evacuation. They had been gathering the galaxy's species together, preparing for a war that was finally coming. "Not yet," Maya said finally. "People need hope right now. They need to believe that peace is possible. If they learn that we're preparing for another war, they'll panic." Vex finished. "But Empress, we can't keep this secret forever. The Devourers are coming whether we're ready or not." Maya turned from the window to look at her advisor. Vex had been one of the few Zephyrians to support her rule from the beginning, seeing in her something that his own people had lost. Trust, maybe, or simply the ability to see beyond the next conquest. 3 months, Maya said. We use that time to strengthen the alliance between humans and Zephyrians, to integrate our military forces, to prepare for what's coming without causing panic. And if we're not ready when they arrive? Maya thought of the arena where she'd first caught Zarth's attention, of the impossible odds she'd faced and overcome, of the crown that now rested on her head, heavy with the responsibility of billions, of lives. Then we do what humans have always done, she said. We adapt. We find the weakness in a system designed to be flawless, and we win a fight we're not supposed to be able to win. Vex nodded, though she could see the worry in his eyes. The Devourers weren't like the Catherian war beast or Admiral Kresh. They were something else entirely, an enemy that had been consuming galaxies since before either humans or Zephyrians had crawled out of their primordial oceans. But as Maya looked out at the stars, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months. Not fear, but excitement. The same feeling she'd had in the arena when she'd realized how to use the gravity field against the Catherian. The thrill of facing an impossible challenge and finding a way to overcome it. Commander Vex, she said, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I want you to arrange a meeting with the Human Scientific Council and the Zephyrian war planners. It's time to start working on our welcome gift for the Devourers. Empress? Maya's smile widened, and for a moment, Vex could see the young woman who had fought a war beast with nothing but her bare hands and primitive electronics knowledge. We're going to show them something they've never seen before, Maya said. 2 species that used to be enemies, working together to protect everything they've built, and we're going to teach them the same lesson I taught Kresh in the arena. Which is? Maya turned back to the stars, her eyes reflecting their light like silver fire. Never underestimate a human with nothing left to lose. 6 months earlier, in the crystal cell, Zarth watched through the security monitors as Maya walked toward her destiny, the crown heavy on her head but her shoulders straight with determination. He had told her the truth about many things: the dying empire, the threat to humanity, even his own desperate hope that her species could provide the evolution his people needed. But he hadn't told her everything. He touched the scar on his chest, hidden beneath his robes. The mark left by Devourer claws during the battle for Terminus Prime 50 years ago. The battle that had convinced him that conventional warfare would never be enough to stop them. The Crown's memories didn't include that battle. Zarth had made sure of it, sealing those experiences away where even the sacred artifact couldn't reach them. Maya would discover the truth eventually. She was too intelligent not to. But by then she would be strong enough to handle it. He hoped. The Devourers were coming, and when they arrived, they would face something they had never encountered before. Not just the combined might of the Zephyrian Empire, but something far more dangerous. A human who had learned to think like a Zephyrian, and a Zephyrian Empire that was learning to adapt like humanity. Zarth smiled, remembering the look in Maya's eyes when she'd taken the crown. The same expression she'd worn in the arena when she'd found a way to defeat the undefeatable. The Devourers had consumed 1,000 civilizations, but they had never faced one quite like this. For the first time in 50 years, Zarth allowed himself to hope.